with our Weston County welcome and invocation. And I believe Don Taylor, the Commissioner, is going to take it from here. Please welcome Weston County Commissioner Don Taylor.
Good morning. It's glad to have everybody here today. We're really proud of Weston County. I'm actually a transplant from Weston County, originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Most of my family lives there, and most of my family are Democrats. So I had to make some changes in my own personal life, but coming to Wyoming was one of the best things that ever happened to me, especially Weston County. Weston County is a town full of traditional pride, ranchers, and we have refinery workers, coal miners, just a generally God-fearing, hard-working community. If you look around you, you'll see some pictures on the wall that were given to us by the Anna Miller Museum. You might take some time to look at those pictures and get an idea of what Weston County has to offer. We do have a lot to offer. And its hardcore values are deep in the Constitution. It believes in the Lord our God, and it believes in doing things a little bit slowed down, but the correct way. So I welcome you guys to Weston County, and I hope you enjoy your conference. Some housekeeping things. We have bathrooms over here, just through these doorways, if you need to use them. And I think there's some drinks and some water stuff, items that are in this next room here, and there's also some cups and water and coffee and that sort of thing up here at the bar. So I'll leave it at that, and I will introduce the sound crew to come up and kind of explain how these microphones work and that type of thing. So welcome, and I hope you enjoy your day.
Madam Chairman Drost, did you have some local folks teed up to do the invocation pledge this morning? Committee Man Bone, would you please come to the microphone?
Let us stand this morning, if we would, in the presence of the Lord. Father, this morning, as we come together to do business, let us remember first and foremost that it's kingdom business. It may be about our state, but we want to do the will of God here. So Lord, today we ask you to direct our steps. The word says, for those who trust in you will do that. So guide us, direct our thoughts today as we discuss things. Let all be done for your glory. In Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Without objection, we've got two of our top 5 elected officials here, one on a very tight schedule. So directly after roll call, if you would entertain them speaking so that they can get on with their schedule today. Do I hear any objection to that? That should make number 9 move up to 4A. No objections? Okay, so be it. And then also, directly after roll call, we'll have David Iverson, Joey Correnti, who's in charge of the sound system today, come up and explain how the microphones work so that we can have a clear communication day. Acting Secretary Ryan Mativer, would you please call the roll? any speakers, want to make sure we understand the sound system. Joey, David, if you come up and be as brief as possible. And then of our top 5 electeds, we have 2. And normally we go down the order from governor to auditor, but due to Kurt's schedule, if either of you don't have a preference, have Kurt go first. I know his schedule is possibly more demanding today. Does that work? Okay. David, Joey?
Thank you, Frank. My name is David Iverson with the Independence Network. Just a couple of quick housekeeping items. Please do not speak unless you have one of these. Okay, we've got a couple of people that are going to be running microphones. And if, where's Carrie at? There's Carrie. Carrie, who is running the microphones? Okay. Who is going to be running microphones? Okay, so if you need to speak, just raise your hand, they'll get you a microphone. Also, please talk into the microphone, not like this. The microphone doesn't pick up when you hold it right here. So if you're going to speak, please hold it right here. Just a couple of quick comments about the Independence Network. It's an internet radio station, and we started it just to give us a voice. The Wyoming media is by and large pretty well biased. I think we all know that, some of whom are in attendance. So we started a network to give us another voice. We think more voices the better, and certainly we need one that reports the facts. So thank you all for attendance. If you need anything, we'll be in the far back corner.
And as a little sample of what you'll get from the Independence Network. Good morning, all you biological boys and girls. And if you identify as anything else, our station is probably not going to be your cup of tea. But we invite you to listen anyway. And remember, you can always get that cantankerous commentary, political, civic, and social entertainment, actually backed up by the facts and data, unlike the mainstream media, right here on the Independence Network. So check us out at www.independencenetwork.us. Thank you for allowing us to provide high-quality sound and digital support for your meeting today. And let us know if you have any questions, concerns, comments, or complaints. Normally those will go to me. And if anything goes wrong through the meeting today, just remember you can always just blame Joey. Thank you.
Just really appreciate you bringing the high-quality sound system to us so that we can have a good communication today. Acting Secretary Tevier, did you note that Campbell County Chairman just strolled in? Scott?
No comment.
Clint, thank you. If you would please give a hearty welcome to our State Treasurer, Kurt Meyer. Thanks, and I really enjoyed that program last night. It was good just to sit back and listen rather than have to get up and speak and hear a bunch of political stuff during the evening. It really was. You guys put on a great program, and that Econ Pie was just absolutely amazing. So a couple of things that I want to talk about is some of the folks who, when I get in an area, if I've served with senators or folks that have just been amazing, I like to talk about them. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Chuck Townsend, Senator Chuck Townsend, former senator I served on the Appropriations Committee with. Chuck had a great sense of humor, but he also knew the issues and he knew about governance. And Bill Barton, also Senator Bill Barton. Bill and I worked really closely on a program called the Transportation Enterprise Trust Fund. And Bill and I both got, the Department of Transportation and the senior citizens across the state really recognized what happened there. But essentially, there was $22 million put in that fund. There's about $2.1 million in it now. And Bill was really instrumental as chairman of transportation getting that across the line. But these were people that you just really like to serve with. There wasn't any conflict. They really were good, strong conservatives. They had your back. Did a lot of business with Bill, selling them hay from time to time. His rancher up here. But that's what we got to try to get back, those kind of people back into the Senate and the House. And we need to make sure that happens soon. Because these are folks that, they basically understand that we got 100 towns out there, we got 23 counties, that there's not one solution for all of them. They understand what's going on in the state. And there's a lot of these folks that are out there. I had a good talk with John Barris. Says, John, you guys are knocking it out of the park on the issues. We need to get you a little bit more help. But on this next thing, you got to learn how to govern. Because now, the conservatives, I think, are going to have that chance to set the committees up, to set the issues, and to drive it home, and to look at all of these things holistically. We're really focused in on the things that just really rip your guts out, that the little people are really tearing us apart in this state. And I think that we can do that. We got to do it in the trenches, though. I think the school boards, that is the most important area that we can really concentrate. County commissioners, city council, all of those areas, we've got to take a lead. And I understood that a lot of people had to actually go to door in precincts. We can't lose. We just can't lose the structure of this party. And you guys are out there. You are carrying the water. I just want to thank you, and thank you again for everything you do. In the past and what you are going to do in this next election cycle. And let's keep our eye on the ball. This next election cycle. That's what we've got to keep our eye on the ball, not 3 years from now. There's things that have to happen in this next election cycle. If they happen, things are really going to start rolling great. And I want to thank you for giving me the support that I've had in the past. It's been a blessing and an honor to work with you. Thank you. Appreciate you stopping in and being here last night, Treasurer Meyer. Quick housekeeping. Wi-Fi is Newcastle Lodge guest. The password is welcome, number 1, no spaces, no caps. Welcome 1 word. Is our Secretary of State, Chuck Gray, in the house? Come on up, Chuck. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for all your work, for giving a couple moments to speak this morning. What a beautiful drive it was up from Cheyenne this morning, beautiful fall drive, and it kind of put it all into perspective. The work we do, the resources we put in, the time, the sweat, the equity, putting our names out there in the media. They always attack the conservatives. They always find a way to attack the conservatives. And I think we always need that reminder, and I had that this morning on the drive up here. Also want to thank everybody that supported our campaign, helped us to get to the place we are today, and the year anniversary of the weekend before the general election, when it became official. Always think about it when these anniversaries came up. It happened in the middle of August a few months ago, and thank you. Wouldn't be here without your support and your prayer. I believe what our state needs right now are conservative leaders that are going to take real action, not just talk, real action to push back on the attack on our values and our way of life. That's why we have worked to protect the crossover bill, the ban on crossover that we brought through the legislature. We've worked worked to protect that by issuing a directive to clarify a point that the media and the insiders have tried to fight now for 9 months to try to bring this bill back to the legislature, which isn't necessary. It's done. Let's have an election cycle with it in place, and we successfully stopped that bill. That's why when the left has been trying to remove President Trump from the ballot with an absurd 14th Amendment argument, and this is real election interference. They always accuse us of what they're guilty of. We were the only Secretary of State in the nation to communicate with another Secretary of State who was considering actually doing this in New Hampshire. Interstate, communicating with him and pushing back on what the media is putting out there, which is that this is not a 14th Amendment violation, what President Trump has done. 14th Amendment was written for Confederate officers. Not to mention the fact that President Trump did not engage in an insurrection. He used his First Amendment rights to question the results of an election. That's why when we learn from the clerks that they don't believe that there's a residency requirement in state statute, and our residency requirement that's in our Constitution that was struck down in a series of decisions in 1972 and 1973, and the legislature has declined to act since then. That's why we put forward to the Corporations Committee and passed a durational residency requirement. And I'd like stronger than 30 days. Leo, make that clear, because they have not made that clear in articles about this. I would like stronger. I totally understand hunting licenses, you have to live here a year. Unfortunately, with the constitutional jurisprudence where we're at, 30 days is the strongest that clearly passes constitutional muster. Now, if we want to do a test case, I'm totally open to that. But you got to have the votes in the legislature and the will to do that. I'm afraid that's not there. So let's get something on the books, 30 days, so that someone isn't here for 15 seconds and can, unfortunately, legally vote. We brought that through the committee and look forward to bringing that through the legislature. That's why when we learn that a Swiss billionaire who lives in Jackson is using third-party entities to interfere with election administration, the zuckbucks that we've heard about. That's why we wrote a letter to all 23 county clerks telling them to not accept any of these third-party funds regarding election administration, and brought through the Corporations Committee a bill banning that practice. And that's why we've been working so diligently to push back on this ESG agenda. Now, it's been 4 or 5 years that this agenda has been out there, and even longer, but it got identified about 4 or 5 years ago. And at the start of this year, the state had declined to take action on bills that had been brought by the legislature, and I really wanted to help advance the ball on this. So one of the things we did is we issued an anti-ESG rule through our office. We regulate stockbrokers, have oversight over stockbrokers, investment advisors, broker-dealers, and asked the State Loan Investment Board, which I sit on, all 5 statewide electeds sit on, to have a formal policy regarding the investment of state funds. And we were able to bring that through with the treasurer, and I would have liked it to be a little stronger, but we did bring a policy through. And that's why, and I have a ton of respect for the treasurer. Worked with him on a lot of issues. We served in the legislature together. But that's why when the governor identified anti-coal language in a contract with one of our investment advisors and touted it, that's why we said, no, we're going to remove that from the contract, and brought a motion to reconsider to remove it from the contract. Now, I know some of the Marxist, pro-Hamas professors at Harvard that the governor, I guess, was cavorting with at this event may be okay with this anti-coal language. I mean, you should see they compared coal investments to investing in pornography and drugs. That might be okay at the East Coast elite schools that look down on us, but that is not okay here in Wyoming. And I'm very thrilled, even though the motion to reconsider failed by 1 vote. We had the superintendent on our side, but the other 3, fortunately, weren't there. It looks like the treasurer has gotten on board and appears to have removed it from the contract. I want confirmation on that. but verbally there have been assurances that it has been removed, so I think we've won on that as well. And why do we need these actions? And I know we have pros here that can see the difference between people that just put out words and aren't doing anything and those that are really acting and advancing the ball on a conservative agenda. All this left-wing attacks on our way of life, they're all converging right now. The ESG agenda, the decline of coal markets domestically, Trump, this BLM 30% resource management plan, this 30% increase in our electric rates, and then BLM, the other RMP of death, I call them the two RMPs of death, this resource management plan where they're trying to lock up land for development, coal, oil, gas, ag, and recreation. We can all unite now. I think one of the big lessons of what the BLM is doing is we can all unite on this. And they're going to come to Weston next. The Weston office is next if they're successful in Sweetwater. They're going to do this all across our state. All of these attacks are converging right now, and we need real conservative leadership. That's why anyone that takes real action, the coalition, the insiders, the media, the Democrats, they always try to push back on it. We saw last week, I don't know if you read the article about Cale Case and his outburst in the Corporations Committee. Very unfortunate. And of course, they always accuse us of being nasty. The Cowboy State Daily and Leo's back there. Of course, in his article, it's fascinating. I mean, please watch the video because the article makes it sound like I was the aggressor. And anyone who watches the video with an open mind can see that it's the other way around. And that outburst, unfortunately, is not the first time. We've seen that in Revenue when I served with him on that. But we see time and time again that they accuse us of what we're guilty of. And that's what they're doing as well on that. And any time we try to take conservative action. So we need... I was in D.C. a couple of weeks ago and went to the archives and saw the Declaration, and the ink is fading a little bit. But the ink may continue to fade, but the words, the spirit of that Declaration will not. And that's why we need to continue to have real action in our state, and I'm going to continue to work to do that. Contact me anytime. Call me. My number is 251-1372. And thanks for all your work. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Look around the room, see if we have any other special guests and elected officials. I can see one from here. This is your hometown Wyoming legislator, Alan Slagle. Alan, would you stand and be recognized? And I believe we have a Natrona County House member, Bill Alaman. Bill, are you here? No? Coffee. All right, somebody saw him. He's here. He comes back in, we'll give him the hook. Bill, you got introduced. Bill Alaman. Any others? If I missed you, how about any other county commissioners in the room? Any other Weston County board members? Okay, if anybody else arrives, please bring it to my attention. The roll call has produced 65 total max potential votes. 51 present, 14 by proxy, 10 absent. Chairman deems we have a quorum to conduct business today. Kirk, you need a microphone. Do we have a runner?
Right here.
I'll let the parliamentarian figure those for us. Now remember, not everybody is required to vote. So those are just projections based on the total number of people that do vote. We count the total number of people that cast votes, not the total number of potential voters in the room. Kurt?
Mr. Chairman, if I understood correctly, the gentleman from Natrona County has 3 proxies. Okay, so there's one about here. All right.
Okay. So you are serving as a proxy and you are carrying 1 additional proxy. You're carrying 2 proxies. Okay. Ryan, you got that sorted out? Okay. Now, I did have one more question. I got a proxy. I don't know if it made it to. Let me pull that up. Maybe a correction on one more proxy. Oh, I think it's from Laramie County. Did you get proxy from Cat Club? Kathy, did you get that? And that's in the count? Okay. That was one that I had thought of that I received. If you all have the proposed agenda before you, I would now entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Roger Conant. Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Discussion on the agenda. Seeing no discussion, all in favor of approving the agenda as presented, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. It is passed. We have our agenda. And now for the second meeting in a row, we will go directly into public comments and questions. 15 minutes is allotted from 9:40 to 9:55. If you would like to be recognized and speak as a non-voting member non-member and guest, please rise. And we've got a microphone in your neighborhood. Anybody from the public? Any comments? I see folks here from Campbell County, Crook County, Lincoln County, Natrona County, Sheridan County, and some other faces I don't recognize. Anybody interested in public comment? We're here to listen to you. This party works for you, the grassroots. Got some bashful folks. We've got a good gallery back there. Thank you for being here.
Well,
Madam Secretary?
I got one question.
You got it.
My name is Stanley Jasinski from Weston County, and I was just wondering when the legislators in the state of Wyoming will start addressing the illegal invasion in our state and how it's affecting our public schools. It's affecting our welfare, our snack programs, and all this other stuff. In June of this year, I made a statement at another event that by the end of the summer, there'll be a tent city in Cheyenne, and there'll be illegal children enrolled in our schools by the end of the summer. I believe that's happening. I'm wondering when that's going to be addressed. Thank you.
From the party's perspective, been hearing these reports from Sheridan County to Laramie County and everywhere in between. We're seeing move-ins. Heard an account of a motel in Casper that was completely destroyed by transients. And so it does seem to be fairly widespread. As far as any initiatives by the party, not seeing any yet. We have the opportunity to take that issue up at any time. I would direct, if any of the 2 legislators that are here would like to take that up and answer on behalf of the legislature, feel free to do that. Sheridan County is saying pretty please. Bill Alaman, you have the mic.
I don't have a whole lot to say other than Wyoming is faced with so many problems right now. We're faced with the RMPs in Rock Springs. We're faced with challenges in our school and against our parents. We're challenged with elk populations throughout the state. We have so many problems, and all I can say is you need to go home, talk to your constituents, and your constituents need to be involved. Because we have so many problems. Our 30% raise in the Rocky Mountain, power increase, the school boards, everything we have is a challenge to us. And we can't figure that out sitting here. We need to go home and talk to our constituents, get them involved, and that is our only hope. Thank you very much.
Anyone else like to comment on that topic or any other? Brent Bien, you may have the floor.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Folks, as many of you know, we are running an initiative across the state right now to limit property tax, residential property tax across the state. And we see this as very much all the issues that Bill just talked about as direct threats to our freedom. The way we see this, BCR voter initiatives, is that we have to fight back against this. Okay, because without freedom, nothing matters. Okay, so we are targeting this increase, this mass skyrocketing in our property tax. Okay, we see that. We see folks having to leave our state because they can't afford to live here anymore. That is a direct threat to our freedom, and we know that one of the main pillars of our Constitution is about private property rights. That is the basis of freedom right there. Okay, so I'm asking you, and I'm asking the party, and I'm asking all those out there, number one, do not be afraid to fight back. And that's what we're doing with this initiative. We're getting the folks. It's a people's initiative. We're not competing against our legislature. We're hoping that the legislature this next session actually does something to complement this. This is the backstop if they don't. Okay, it is the backstop. Okay, so we're asking the party, we're asking all the folks out there to please look at this, realize how precious this freedom is that we have, and remember that it's God that gives us freedom, not government. Okay, it's up to the people. It is up to the people to stand up and not be afraid anymore, okay, and fight back against all these things that Bill was talking about that are coming into our state and into our nation. So again, if you have any questions on this, don't hesitate to talk to Cheryl, Rich, myself. We're all about it, and we're here to help. Okay, this is not about any of us individually. This is about our state, the greatness of Wyoming, and the greatness of America.
Got a couple more minutes. Any further public comment? Representative Alman, are you coming to the microphone? No? Okay. Vince?
May I comment on any comments?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brent Bien, I hesitate to call him Mr. I'd like to call him Colonel, but we're both retired. On a serious note, Brent Bien came to the Park County Republican Party this past week and presented the issue on this property tax initiative. I would encourage all of our members and members of the community to press their elected officials, their county assessor, their county commissioners, their treasurer on factual information, not emotional information. Brent presented factual information, was able to back it up with resources and statutes and significant numbers. Our county assessor and county commissioner talked about a lot of emotion and remind us how many resources we're going to lose in the community. So please push your elected officials for factual information about this property tax initiative. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, last chance for public comment. Going once, going twice. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you, legislators, for being here. Madam Secretary, would you now take up the minutes from last week?
Give me just one moment, Mr. Chairman. I have them up.
Certainly.
With the numerous files I have open, could you provide me the date of that meeting, please? That was in Laramie, correct? August 2nd?
Well,
Here it is. Mr. Chairman, I do have those minutes up.
Typically, we offer to either read or dispense with the minutes and entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So I would entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of those minutes, as everyone should have received them via email.
Moved and seconded to dispense with the reading of the minutes, and did that include approval of? Yes, okay. Discussion on the minutes. Any corrections needed? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as presented, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The minutes are approved. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Chairman's report. I will have, we have two sets. Oh, we do have two sets. Okay, which set? Thank you. This which set would that be?
May 6th.
May 6th.
Give me just one moment.
Does everybody have a digital copy of those? Kathy, do we have any print copies of May 6th?
I do have the digital copy of May 6th up in front of me. I would entertain a motion to accept those as presented and approve.
Kurt?
And dispense with the reading.
Thank you, Kurt.
Did I hear a second? Okay, moved and seconded to approve and dispense with the reading of the May 6 minutes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Those minutes are adopted. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you, committee members. Chairman's report. We have a new state committee man from Teton County, Toby Turner. Toby, would you stand and be recognized? Welcome aboard. Pleasure to have you, and indeed, that was your father that spoke at the dinner May 6th, or May 5th in Teton County, correct?
Correct.
John Turner. Any other new members that I may have lost over? Okay, I think that's the only one I'm aware of. Most of what the substance of my report will be brought up in the committee work. That is the non-election focus, is all the subcommittees, including candidate recruitment. We've got a lot more than that going on. We'll come up during that portion of the agenda. My primary concern is state convention. We are behind the 8 ball. We're almost used to working in a post-COVID world, and we're finding that venues are snapped up right and left, so that took out Sweetwater County. We do have one bid, which is Fremont County, the Women's Republican Network virtual. Thank you. And so that is, how many of you, I know I've asked this before, how many of you have been to the Military Museum of Vehicles? All right. Well, there is a full kitchen and meeting room, and construction is planned for rooms. So the site selection committee will or has already sent you that information. We'll have that discussion during the committee for site selection. And then there are 2 outstanding bids. I understand Commerce County is working hard to get us a venue at the State Fair, so we may have that possibility. And then Laramie County, as of yesterday, submitted everything minus one little problem in Little America that the chairman alerts me that they think they will get worked out. So my thought going forward is, and Carla, I don't want to steal any of your thunder, but I believe our February meeting, February 9th, is definitely the drop dead date. We've got to have it decided on before then. I presume that we will be able to hold a Zoom meeting sometime between now and then and make that decision. I think we've got to do that in the interest of time. Madam Secretary, if you would write down Dallas Grill from Laramie County. Terrell. Dallas Terrell. And so you may have some insight during site selection as well. We'll call you up if you're ready then for the potential state convention date. We'll just do it. Let's talk during lunch. Okay, thanks, Dallas. The other 2 focuses that have already been mentioned.
Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chairman, I would like the body to know that with Dallas Tyrell arriving, the count does go from 65 to 67 voting members because he does carry Taft Love's proxy.
Okay, so 1 in present, 1 proxy for a total of 67. Please adjust your numbers. The RNP in Rock Springs. The governor has spoken. The legislators are writing bills and taking action. Our Sweetwater County chairwoman is not here. She has done a tremendous job taking on the federal government, BLM, and getting the grassroots activated, calling them to account on holding public meetings, and getting the grassroots to turn up and speak on behalf of our property rights and our rights to manage our land in Wyoming. So please give Liz Bingham some encouragement if you can. Comment, the comment period, thanks to the work of the Sweetwater County Republican Party, not in totality, but in part, is possible because of their work, that the comment period has been extended. And so we've got a web page that the state party is building that's going to be completely dedicated to that effort. Excuse me. And we've got legislation pending from Senator Bob Hyde and others. The other focus through messaging, if you are a recipient of email and social media at the Wyoming Republican Party, is the proposed power rate increase. So all sorts of attack on property rights, natural resources, and the way we make our living in Wyoming is under attack. And this has been the primary focus of the party. If you have anything from your county that you would like to add, do that. We will welcome all the force and power to work that you have for us. Chairman Miller? It would be best, and here comes one. You have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, Brian Miller, since we're talking about things that will affect the entire state, I think one of the things the party needs to take a serious look at is this use of federal land for affordable housing that Senator Lewis and Senator Barrasso have seemingly supported. I've been reading through the bill. Oh my God, read it. The party needs to be concerned about it. The state needs to be concerned about it. Please, we need to focus on that.
Use of federal lands for public housing. That just seems, I can't believe we are there.
Affordable housing.
Affordable housing. Yes, we know what that means. That means publicly subsidized, am I wrong? Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've been being warned by the RNC for years that George Soros is bringing new movers in to places like Wyoming, where especially those districts that are close to 50-50 and easily flip from red to blue. So we need to be aware of that. We've got a download from specifics that are happening in Sheridan County that looks like a total illegal, open the door, come move here. We're going to build the infrastructure for you. Welcome to Sheridan. Very scary. Carla? You have the floor.
I live off in Sheridan County. I had lunch with a Montana legislator. She's a younger woman in Billings, and she said Billings is the location, the drop spot for illegals in the north. And I said, gee, that's 2 hours away from us. And so, and the rest of you a little bit further. They're here. That's all I have to say.
Up here, Nick Sherry from Cook County, Michigan. You have the floor, Sherry.
At our Wyoming State Republican Women's meeting, the city council member came and spoke to us saying they're receiving a bus load a day. They said in their government housing, she couldn't place a mom with 3 kids living in her car because they're full of illegal aliens. Casper and Charlie Young.
Any further comments or questions? All right, we're going to move on to our highly active National Committee woman. Please welcome Nina Weber.
Kim did a nice write-up on
she did.
James Martin's, Don Thorson, Gene Baldwin,
Gene Baldwin, what a funny guy.
Oh, yeah.
Cindy said, well, just tell them about life on the ranch. Well, I guess I could do that because I was there, Now, before we start, let's make a deal. If you get done listening before I get done talking, raise your hand. Now, I thought that ought to be pretty good. It ought to be a lot easier than trying to select a speaker for the House of Representatives.
Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm honored to represent you every day that I'm out in our state and throughout the country. A couple of things have happened. I'm the most excited about is I'm going to start with the National Federation of Republican Women, just to give you an overview. They were able to figure out what is a woman, and the right people got the win. So on the Wyoming Federation of Republican Women, we had a really good conference come up, or it was our convention, and we were able to elect a new state board. And I would like to be the first to let you know, or maybe not the first, but the first in this body to let you know, and please recognize our very own Sherry Davis will be the new president. Would you please stand? We also had elected Carla Kloppenstein as our first VP. Please stand. We have also second Vice President Polly Cartwright, third Vice President Laura DeMattis. Some of you may know her. And I think I saw our new Secretary, Patty Judick, in the back. Would you please stand, Patty? So we can and our new treasurer will be Carrie Lounsbury I just think we have a new board, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody. We did pass a couple of resolutions. Definition of a woman had passed. Yes. One thing that was brought up was to create a standing rule for dispute resolutions, and that did pass. We know from being in this body specifically, and some of our counties, we have been attacked with lawfare. I think it's important. I'm so proud of this group for getting that done. There were a couple of other resolutions that passed that protect children and protect the innocent and protect against sexual grooming. So, to switch gears, you guys remember when Park County, that's my county, when we started doing a hand count, kind of made the paper a little bit, and we put a lot of effort and time into training the volunteers, talking with the county clerks and the commissioners, and getting everything done so that we can hand count the ballots. Why? Because election integrity is very important. Without that trust of, is this correct or is it not? We're never going to know, and we're never going to believe what's going on. So I was talking to our own Secretary of State, Chuck Gray, the other day about Park County and Haddon County efforts that we had done. We also, just so you know, that effort ended with the county commissioners saying that in Title 22 that it's not allowed. So, okay, so it ended. But you know what didn't end is that we have Secretary of State Gray. He made this comment to me that Haddon County, yes, I would really like the county to bring that back up. So what I did speak to the group in our Park County local GOP meeting, and it was pretty exciting there. We had over 71 people, and when I brought that up, all I saw was, hey, cut me down, I'll do it, I want to help. It's still important. And with the backing of Chuck Gray, and he said, I don't interpret the statute the same way, and would really like this to come back up again. I want you to know in Park County, I'm hoping that we do that. Or if your county wants to do that, let's work together. Be looking forward to that. So something else happened in Park County, and I don't want to just talk about Park County, but this is kind of great. We passed a vote of no confidence for Governor Gordon. Deserve that. Yeah. You know, I had been asked, why didn't we use a censure? You know what? Everybody in here knows that even censure people to death. I really think it's important, and the message is clear when the words are a vote of no confidence. So I appreciate Park County, and I would hope your county would do the same thing. So I know that our chairman alluded a little bit to you all about the bill that Cynthia Lomas is co-sponsoring, helping open underutilized space to ensure Shelter Act. So this would, I know a lot of us in here are frustrated with some of these legislation that comes our way. This legislation would allow Wyoming to easily develop federal lands into affordable housing or public housing. So what do you think of this? Up, down, yeah, exactly. So I have a couple of comments on that. Didn't we already try this in 1868 with the Treaty of Fort Bridger? Same as public, right? Or
building public reservations now.
Thank you, Chairman. So the other way we can look at it too is with this bill, I don't think it's in this bill, but what if the Homestead Act would come into play? Because the whole reason some of these failures have failed, and all they're doing now is sucking away our taxpayer dollars, and nobody's getting better. Nobody is. But what if they owned some of this property? What if they bought the property? What if I was able to buy the property? I think it would be a great way to push back on some of these environmental proposals. So that's all that I have, but I would take any questions if anybody had any. And again, I would like to tell you thank you. I am very honored to represent you in the state of Wyoming and throughout our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Dinah. And now, Committee Man assignments. You may have the floor.
You guys hear me okay? Is this too low? There we go. Maybe that'll work. It never gets old to say it still sucks to be a CSU random, does it? Anyway, on to business here. So my better half, Senator Sherry Steinmetz, sends her regrets that she can't be here today. She's actually in Dallas at David Barton's Wahlburgers Pro-Family Legislators Conference. And we do have, I believe, 4 or 5 other legislators that are there. I can't even begin to tell you how scary some of the stuff is that they're describing. So hopefully she'll be able to enlighten us on some of that stuff in the future here. But things with AI, it's way worse than we ever thought. You know, obviously the media is not going to give us the truth, but we do have people that will give us that truth. And hold on to your hats because it's kind of scary. So I don't want to be just a drag, but I do want to give a shout out So there we go. I do want to give a shout out to our Ag Committee. It's the Agricultural, Public Lands, and Water Resources Committee. Representative Slagle and Allman are both on that committee, but their meeting last week or a couple weeks ago in Laramie, if you haven't watched the YouTube video on that, it'd be well worth your time to do. They did some incredible work pushing back on the Rock Springs RFP, actually creating a litigation fund so that the state legislature can sue the BLM. They actually did a bill as well. I think a part of that bill elevates the state legislature to cooperating status, something that is not currently there. So I think there's a lot of angles we're fighting this on, but to piggyback a little bit on what Secretary Gray said, these plans are already in motion in other places. There's one in Colorado right now that's being fought, and the Weston County plan, I'm sure, is already written up. They just haven't revealed it yet, but it's all over the West. So one of the things that I've been doing is communicating with my colleagues in these western states and explaining, you guys need to be paying attention. They're coming after our energy, they're coming after all of our resources, and if we don't fight this, they're just going to take it. So I appreciate what is happening in Sweetwater County, and hopefully all of you guys are finding ways to participate and wake your people up. We've got to get the message to the 35–45% of our Wyoming residents that don't vote. You got to get involved. You can't sit back and just let other people do it. So thank you for what you guys are doing, and keep up that good work. As you probably know, we're going to have a national convention in Milwaukee in 2024, and those dates are July 15th through the 18th. So I want to give you a little bit of information on what's happening and what we need to be working on. There will be, here in the next couple of weeks, I'll get a packet of information for us to make a decision based on some criteria, what hotels we want to stay at or what region we want to stay in. Fortunately, nobody has to stay in Chicago. Everybody will be in Wisconsin, so that's a good thing. But some of the venues, some of the hotels are going to be an hour to an hour and a half from the city center where the convention will be. So keep in mind, when we are making an application or an ask of where we want to stay, that criteria is cost, of course. So the closer you are to the city center, the higher the hotel rooms are. And it's important that your delegates know it's a 5-night minimum. We do have to stay in the hotel that we are supposed to be at. They're not requiring that. It's highly recommended. But we will have transportation from the hotel to the convention and back each day. And that's provided by the RNC. Now, if we want to do some events, and again, I've never been to a convention that was normal. I went to the 2020 convention in Charlotte where we got Q-tips shoved up our noses. So I'm enlisting some help specifically from Marty Halverson, our former National Committee woman and former Chairman of Lincoln. But I'd like to have at least one person from each county maybe get on a Zoom call or at least get on an email stream with me. So if you want to be that person, please let Secretary know or let Kathy know so we can build that list. Here's the thing. I want input from across the state as to where we want to stay. Because I think that it shouldn't be just myself and Committeewoman Weber making that decision. So I want to make sure you guys know what the options are, so as soon as I get that, I'll put that information out there. But they're going to want things like how many single rooms, how many double bedrooms, special needs rooms. And obviously, we can't predict necessarily who our delegates will be, but we've got to give some kind of an idea because that may be affected in which hotel we get to choose. Now, I am told there's a few hotels that are, the furthest out are actually some of the most beautiful places to stay. So hopefully more information on that will be in the information I get and get out to you guys. So please let me know what your thoughts are on that. And there is also a summer internship program. This is something the RNC does. It's for juniors, seniors, and undergraduate college students. There's a couple of requirements. They do have to stay in Milwaukee full-time from June 6th to July 21st. And then they also have to have a 3.0 grade point average. and there's an application process on the RNC website. When I get that information, make sure to get that out to you. But if you have college students that want to learn and want to experience something, probably would be a pretty cool experience to go do that. So with that, you might have a few questions. So if you want to ask now, that's fine, or catch me later. Again, I'm learning on the go, and hopefully we're all going to put together a good plan. And we are working, by the way, with some other states, specifically Colorado, Nebraska, and the I-80 corridor there, to do some events. Most of these event coordinators want 250 to 500 people at an event or more. We're going to have 29 delegates and 26 alternates, so if spouses and such come, we could have 60 to 80 people, so they're not going to want to work with us. So I thought we need to jump on board with some of our states that are good states, and specifically Colorado that's trying to become a red state again. So I think it'd be good for us to have that interaction with people across our area. So, what's that? Yes. Bring Weld County into Wyoming? I don't know. We'll talk about it. Anyway, anybody have any questions for me right now? The date, July 15th through the 8th.
On the state or on the national convention, are the areas that we're going to be going into, do they have any restrictions on firearms?
Yes, because we have Secret Service protection all across the area, yeah, we won't be able to carry firearms. Unless you apply to the Secret Service first and get it approved. So we'll find out what that process is and make sure. Don't throw your gun at them and say, I'm bringing it in. Not going to happen. So. Yes. Oh, perfect. Yeah, there's a piece of paper going around if you want to sign up to be the person for your county to work on this. That'd be great. Any other questions? All right. Oh, I see one over here. Cheryl. Representative Schlegel or Allman, do you remember the date from your ag meeting in Laramie?
11th and 12th of last week.
11th and 12th?
Yeah. Or no. 30th and 31st, I'm sorry.
Okay, wait a minute. It was the 31st.
It was 30th and 31st, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you'll know it's in Laramie. It's the most recent ag committee meeting. All right, thanks guys. Enjoy your day.
Thank you, Corey, for your diligent work. A lot to do, but busy time of year for that. Yes.
We are now 53 present in person. Our voting total is 68.
68 is what I got as well. Very good. Thank you for the update. Now, in my opinion, it's been a little too long since we've heard from one of our favorites, but she's here today. Of the many hats she wears, please welcome Coalition Chairwoman Marty Halverson. All the way from Lincoln County. Thank you for being here, Marty.
Okay, sorry I couldn't be in Laramie, but it was the date of our junior livestock sale at the Lincoln County Fair, and I don't miss that. Naima already did a great job of talking to you about the Wyoming Federation of Republican Women, but I would like to invite new President Sherry Davis up here to talk a little bit more about it. Thank you, Sherry.
Sherry Davis, Crook County, and your new president of Wyoming Federation of Republican Women. I am thankful to be entrusted with this position. As everyone in this room knows, it is a grassroots effort that makes change, and we are making change in Wyoming. We have just begun. We see the battle is thick. When women come together, they work, they're diligent, and they get things done. I am thankful for our Republican women in our counties. I am going to name our counties that presently have Republican women groups. And this takes 10 members of the county. Everyone in here, I want to say, you know more than the people around you. You know how to work resolutions. You know what the problems are. We have lots of people who care, and they just don't know what to do. And so we are that beacon that is going to help them. Here are the counties that already have Republican women's groups. We have Campbell County, Crook County, Fremont County, Goshen County, Johnson, Laramie, Natrona, Park, Sheridan, and Washakie. I am thankful for those groups, and I know you work hard. Yes. So the question was, when you have 2 chapters in a county, you may. Yes. And so that's really valuable because we have some really big counties. It just takes 10 people to form a group. We take those to the board. I would be glad. Please contact me to help you know how to set up that county. And that way we meet the needs. Some people meet in the evening. Some people meet in the afternoon. Some people have 2 groups so they can meet the needs of both. So I encourage you women, if you didn't hear your county, talk to me. Get involved. It can happen. There's 10 women, 10 women that care enough to do something and make a difference. I know you do. I also want to tell you we have something unique and supporting. It's a virtual group, so it's online and it has people represented from all counties. That empowers you to get your feet wet. You're just not sure. Get your feet wet. Get started. They do a lot. They're a great group of women. Donna Rice is our president. Marty Halverson is on that. You can talk to her. And then I encourage you to take that forward into your counties for the boots on the ground, because we are the ones that make the difference. Thank you, women.
I am first vice president of the virtual club. It's called Wyoming Republican Women Riding for the Brand. The brand is our platform. If you agree with our platform 100%, please see me about joining our virtual group. We meet the first Monday of every month at 7 p.m. via Zoom. Sure. We have associate memberships for the gentlemen. Okay, next we want to hear from Liberty's Place for You. Mike Pyatt from Natrona County is where is he?
He just stepped out for a minute.
Okay. Okay, Liberty's Place for You in Casper hosted a central committee meeting last year. Okay, but Mike will get his turn. We also have in Casper Moms for Liberty. There are 4 chapters in Wyoming of Moms for Liberty. Natrona County, Laramie County, Sweetwater County, Hot Springs County are the 4 chapters. Most of them are down in Cheyenne at a meeting with Heritage Foundation, Kevin Roberts, and Wyoming Family Policy Alliance, Nathan Winters. But Susan Bieber is the Natrona County Chairman, and we have Dan Zabrowski here to talk about Moms for Liberty.
Thank you, Marty.
Yeah, and I know I hold the title as Senate Liaison for this body. Unfortunately, I don't have a report for you today, but I am following along. So next meeting, I should have a report as we head into the budget session. So Sarah has asked me to speak on her behalf today. The Moms for Liberty gals are down in Cheyenne and Ethan Winter's Family Policy Summit. So these gals are constantly on the move. They are the spearhead of protecting our kids from the leftist agenda that's trying to steal their hearts and minds. And these women, they're fierce. Don't mess with them. So, her report. Moms, and as Marty said, Moms for Liberty, Wyoming now has 4 growing and succeeding chapters. Laramie County, Cheyenne. Sweetwater County, Green River, Rock Springs. Hot Springs County, Thermopolis. And Natrona County, Casper. We have been able to successfully campaign and get parental right focused school board trustees on boards across Wyoming. We have challenged and influenced change of local and even statewide policy on parental rights and education, definition to school libraries and policies to address sexualization of children. We continue to network and work with parents and families across the state. We have a lot of work ahead of us in the coming election cycle. I look forward to working with local grassroots groups. At the local level, all of our chapters are continuing to challenge sexually explicit pornographic material that is available in our public schools. Each of our chapters has their own specific district topics that they are working on. Sweetwater Superintendent recently resigned in a letter to the board. Her resignation will take effect in July of 2024. A lawsuit against the school district in Sweetwater is still in litigation and is awaiting a hearing date. The family is suing the school district for socially transitioning their daughter and hiding it from the parents. Cheyenne is currently working closely with the community to give input to the school district on policy defining sexually explicit books and the process for removing them. Cheyenne's superintendent also resigned back in August and have not yet voted on a replacement. The Natrona County superintendent also resigned, and that will take effect in June of 2024. Hot Springs is still getting the logistics of their chapter up and running, but they have already been able to recruit and foster 2 candidates for school board in 2024. And it's no surprise these superintendents are resigning. These moms do not let up. It is frustrating, these people. They've had it too easy for too long, and the fun is gone. State level, State Superintendent Megan Dagenfelder has announced the release of guidance for establishing or modifying library material policy as outlined in her 2023 through 2027 Department Education Strategic Plan. School districts can utilize its guidance to evaluate or implement their own policies to best serve their communities. The guide also serves to help parents understand how these policies are created and how they can participate in the process. Lots of things are happening across the state. If you have questions or would like more information, please feel free to contact Sarah Bieber, Natrona Moms for Liberty Chapter Chair. Her email address is natrona.m4l@gmail.com. Her phone number is 307-298-0502. And I do have some cards with her information on it. If you have an issue in your, what's that? 307-298-0502. And I can get you the cards too. Sarah Bieber. Bieber, B-I-E-B-E-R. Yep. So if you're having issues in your school district or just have questions, contact her. She's on it. So, and again, I do have some cards if you'd like them.
Dan is also the Wyoming Republican Party liaison to the State House of Representatives, And Roxy Hensley from Albany County is the liaison to the state senate. So I'm sure we'll be hearing from them as the session gets closer. As I said, Liberty's Place for you, Mike Pyatt.
Can you hear me? Is that right? Frank, good to see you. I didn't recognize him. That beard comes and goes. Thank you, Marty. I appreciate you inviting us. Liberty's Place for you. Some of you may or may not be familiar. It's hard to believe that December, Liberty's Place for you will be in existence. So, we're a grassroots organization, and our motto is liberty is not self-perpetuating. It requires a force, and who is that force? We are. We are. Grassroots, 3 years ago, I looked it up. I knew what it meant. Now it's a reality. It went from theory to reality. So, Liberty's Place for you, out of our founding group, I'm one of the founders, Dan, Bill Alderman. 3 of our group are now in the legislature. We didn't know that when we started. We didn't know much when we started, in fact. But, and we believe God had his hand on us in this thing. So, our job now is to do exactly what we said. Help advance virtuous liberty in Wyoming. Now, recently, last November, we held the state Central Committee meeting, and by all accounts, it was successful. I think we had 180 people that Friday night, and we'd like to do it again, in fact. So we were one of the counties bidding for the February State Central Committee meeting. So we'll hear about that today. If somebody else should get it, we're going to go for the state convention in April, right? April? Now, Chuck clapped. Thank you, Chuck. Now, we know it's going to be a heavy lift, but it's a challenge. We're going to put on our hernia belt and do that lift. So, Liberty's Place for you is like many of these grassroots organizations. We've held 2 symposiums in the past 3 years, and we had 10 counties, and we're still trying to network. People are hungry for liberty. You know, the tougher times get, I think the more people who are really interested in the truth, they have an appetite for liberty. So, thank you for the opportunity to come, and it's great to be here with you other patriots. So, again, Marty, thank you for inviting us, and we'll be in the fight with you. Lord willing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I did reach out to the Equality State Taxpayers Association, but did not hear back from them in time to be here. But they are the good guys. The Wyoming Taxpayers Association, those are the bad guys. Wyoming Equality State Taxpayers Association, they have a website, look them up. I reached out to Team Pact Wyoming. They couldn't be here, but they sent a short note. Team Pact is a national youth leadership program that seeks to inspire young people in their relationship with Christ and to train them to understand the political process, value their liberty, defend their Christian faith, and engage the culture around them. We meet at the Capitol each year during the legislative session to give students hands-on opportunities to see their government in action and to interact with legislators, lobbyists, and state officials. I am looking for opportunities to get the word out to more Wyoming residents about our program so we can grow the number of students we see each year. So look for them. I was invited to speak to one of the Team PAC meetings when I was in the legislature. And I gave my talk, and there was about 15, 20 minutes of really good Q&A. And then they broke into groups and played a little game called International Trade Relations. Kids. Okay. So I do have the information for this group. So reach out to me if you have any kids that might be interested. Okay, now for the highlight of the coalition report. From the University of Wyoming, we have Lucy Holt with Students for Life from Coppers County. We have Nick Bogani from Turning Point at the university. We have Noah Escalone of Cowboys for Life, Michael Barrow, Cowboys for Life, and I'll just call them up in some random order. Gabriel, would you like to come up and talk to us at Turning Point USA at the University of Wyoming?
First Wyoming GOP meeting. Pretty cool. Yeah, we're doing great things at the University of Wyoming. I see a few faces that were at the Riley Gaines event a couple Tuesdays ago. It was really good. We had over 600 people. We're really taking the fight to the communist transvestites. But it was really good. We got a lot of media attention. Some reporter out of Laramie called our Riley Gaines event the nearest neo-Nazi meeting of modern times. So it's been good stuff. But when I took over this club about 2 years ago, there were 4 of us, and now there's over 50 of us that meet last year we helped start up 3 other conservative clubs: Students for Life, Young Americans for Liberty, and Young America Foundation. So we're doing big things. I think we're the only, the 4 conservative clubs are the only political groups right now meeting on campus. So we're making change on the grassroots on campus. What else have we been doing? With student government, we're actually taking over the student government. I and my chief of staff, Nick Bogani back there, got elected to student government last spring. We're planning on sweeping house this upcoming spring. We're going to get a bunch of people. We got 3 freshmen members of Turning Point into the first-year Senate this year, so we're taking over. Hostile takeover season, that's what I call it. That's what we got to do on the right. Last spring, we actually did a very big thing, changed campus policy on freedom of speech. The president of the university convened a commission after we were recruiting for a Students for Life group, and we had a bunch of protesters. The campus newspaper called us predators for being pro-life. And a friend out of Teton County, Karen Kemmerer, challenged him, saying there's no freedom of expression at the university. And so, got to give him credit. He convened a committee to pass principles to protect freedom of expression. He did that, and we just got those principles passed through student government too. But basically what those principles say is that the university as an institution will not take stances on political, social, and moral issues, and will provide a neutral forum for all students. Other than that, Nick, am I missing anything?
Nope, I think you covered pretty much everything we got. We had a Riley Gaines event a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, come up here, Nick. I'll introduce you. I'm actually at Teton County party last spring. Yeah, I bought that. We actually got to meet Charlie Kirk. It was really cool. We've been in contact with him, and he's been giving us advice. So next spring, we got a couple of big speakers we're planning on bringing. I can't tell you yet, but they're watching us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But yeah, lots of good stuff. If you guys have any questions, you're welcome to ask. This is Nick Pogani. Yeah.
With all the anti-Semitic protests at college campuses that are going on all over the place, have you noticed anything like that?
Yeah, the question was, have we had any like those pro-Hamas protests on campus? No. We have one fat guy that shouts pro-Palestine at our table every once in a while, but that's really it. But no, we did call out the president of the university. He got pressured into taking a stance on that, but it was the right stance. But then again, with the principals, he can't take a stance, so we kind of called him out on that. We got to make sure neutral forum for all people. But we hang out with Chuck Gray a lot. He's our best friend. Thank you all for having us here. A lot of fun.
Okay, Dave mentioned the Students for Life at the university, so I'd like to introduce you to Lucy Holt, University of Wyoming Students for Life.
We're mostly focused on just getting people talking, because I think abortion is one of the hardest things for people to talk about. Regardless of their stand, people don't like to bring it up, and so that's mostly what we're doing. We have a couple things in the works. We would like to get a pregnancy resource locker, which is like a food locker, but it would just be free pregnancy resources for mothers and families on campus. And we also did a tabling event where we stood out in the student union all day and made people talk to us, and we invited them over to our table and asked them when they think life deserves to be protected. And we had some pretty interesting conversations, a lot of attention, so that was nice. But yeah, do you guys have any questions? Thank you.
Okay, so I think the University of Wyoming is going to be in good hands. And now from Wyoming's other four-year institution, Wyoming Catholic College, we have Michael Barrow and Noah Escalone.
In addition to the weekly printed version of the newsletter journal, we also promote our community and share important information on our award-winning website, newslj.com, and in our weekly email newsletter, Nuke Now. We also connect with readers through various social media platforms and invite you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can even take a look at a recent meeting of the City Council, School Board, or County Commission on our YouTube channel. We do hope that you will go to newslj.com and subscribe today, and we look forward to making all of our great content available to you. But regardless of your level of support, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing your part to preserve a free and independent local press.
Thank
Chairman, thank you, Marty, for having me again. Do this, I'm not that short. So, I want to remind you all of something which I've been thinking a lot about, which is that we're in a very serious cultural war right now. This is a war against the very truths on which this republic is founded. It is a war waged against the innocence of children, against the dignity of human life of all ages. It's against the nuclear family, against the truth that God created us male and female, something so fundamental that most of us would have never thought a few decades ago that that would be contested, but now it very much is. And it's against our constitutional right to govern ourselves through our elected representatives. It's a war against Wyoming and our people's way of life, and it is a war against God. The adversaries of the ideals that all of us here hold dear, and that our founders did, and that we now inherit as our birthright from them, would like to see our way of life taken away. And what makes Wyoming special and unique amongst the states eroded, so that one day we will be like a Colorado, and eventually many would like to see Wyoming become like California, and we won't have that. They're going to do this, and we're even seeing it where I live in Lander. We have a pro-Agenda 21 council member. They're going to do it by raising property taxes. They're going to take away the energy which so many people in this state call their livelihood. And they're going to make it almost impossible for good lower and middle class folks like ourselves to live on the land that gives us our livelihood and that God Himself gave us at the beginning of time to steward so that we could live and provide for our families. So, because we're in a deep cesspool, not in this state, but just in our country in general right now, it's a great blessing, a consolation, and as always, it's very inspiring to be here with you all. Y'all are a great inspiration to me because it's not every weekend that I get to be amongst so many good, normal, two-gender, God-fearing, salt-of-the-earth conservatives, and that's who you are. Notwithstanding that, we do have to do a little bit more to win this cultural war and to take advantage of the great position that God has put the party of this state in right now to get results for the Wyomingites who are counting on us and who agree with what our state legislators have been trying to do for the last few sessions. So I want to talk about a few areas in which I see this cultural war playing out. First of all, in Johnson v. Wyoming, our state's being sued over the pro-life laws and abortion bans that our elected representatives, in a huge majority, passed. And this is the work of not just one session, it's not an aberration, this is the result of several legislative sessions, and thus we know if the people of Wyoming didn't support these laws, they wouldn't keep electing more and more conservative folks to pass them. And even if there's any doubt, when Chuck Gray was a representative, he was pushing these laws unsuccessfully for a few sessions. And now, where is he? The people of Wyoming have rewarded the most conservative pro-life legislators by bringing them to the very top of our But in order to fight the subjugation of our laws that our representatives have passed for us and that we support, we have to find solutions that are a little more creative, especially in this Johnson v. Wyoming case. because now we see what we've been trying to do for years is being held up by a single person, and that's not how our republic should function. There are serious questions about whether the type of stay on a law that Melissa Owens over in Teton County has put on these abortion bans for an indefinite period of time is even constitutional, and most people think that it isn't. So this is really an abuse and erosion of not just the laws that we have put into effect, but also of the judicial branch, which we need to be functioning well in order to protect our laws. So one thing that I've been thinking a lot about is that some states with their pro-life laws have tried something which has been done before very successfully, but it's fairly rare, which is they insulate abortion bans from judicial review by using a citizen enforcement method. My home state, where I come from initially, of Texas, did that with a heartbeat bill. And so instead of having, Austin, Dallas, El Paso, San Antonio, Houston district attorneys relied on to enforce abortion bans that these big city blue lawyers don't want anything to do with and just refuse to enforce at all, now Texas has had their citizens be given the opportunity to sue any abortionist they want if he commits an abortion. And it's the second most populous state. You'd think that if there was something wrong, if this was not constitutionally valid, all of the lawyers there would say something. But it survived, and that was 2021 when that law went into effect. So I think that we all should start considering whether or not we're going to mount a retention challenge for Melissa Owens whenever that comes up. I think it's in 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry? Oh, okay. But that's not going to be necessarily the solution entirely. I think because her district is not just Teton County, but has, as far as I know, northern Fremont and also parts of Sublette in it, we could win a retention challenge and get her out of office and show that Wyoming isn't going to tolerate judges who abuse their office and abuse our Constitution and oppose the laws that we worked so hard to pass. But we have at least one more year of a really good legislature. So I think it is worth considering that maybe we need to take another stab at passing some pro-life laws, not because they're poorly formed or any reason like that, because a lot of work from great state legislators like Senator Salazar and Rachel Rodriguez-Williams went into these laws to make sure that they are based in the Constitution. And they are. And it's not because of any issue with them that they're losing, but because of this abuse of judicial power. So I think in this next session, we need to take advantage of the great position we're in, pass some more pro-life laws, but be a little more creative about them and consider getting our state legislators to put in a provision that these aren't going to be enforced by the usual authorities, but they're going to be enforced by the real authority from which all power comes, which is us, and that we would be able to sue these big organizations from out of state who are eroding Wyoming's way of life by shipping in abortion medication by the hundreds of pills, and it's causing great distress. And this isn't what Wyoming is about. We have, unfortunately, one abortion facility in the state, and that's in Casper. And it opened during the stay on our abortion bans. And it's very much taking advantage of what Melissa Owens is doing over at Jackson. But we have far, far more pregnancy resource centers that, with the help of volunteers, are providing the help, therapy, counseling, resources, diapers, etc., ultrasounds that Wyoming women need in a post-Roe world. So the infrastructure is set up. Evidently, the people of Wyoming are on board with these laws, and we just need to consider pushing harder and with creative solutions. And some people have criticized us saying, oh, well, you only oppose abortion because you're religious. And for many of us, our religion does seriously inform why we believe that genociding babies is not acceptable. But there's a lot of scholarship that's going on in the legal world that confirms that, yes, the 14th Amendment does support life, and that there are protections in the Constitution for life that's preborn. And so we also need to be very proud and open that we have serious constitutional grounds to make our case. Also, another issue which has been disturbing me a lot, I've been losing some sleep about it. The other day, I drove from Lanark to Riverton for the Fremont County Library System Board meeting. Before going there, I would have never thought that anyone would support giving little children, little innocent children, pornographic books to read. I was proven wrong, and I was naive to think that. But all the many people who showed up, even an older gentleman, a doctor who was presenting about the negative effects of pornography, were met with such hostility that I was very surprised. And so, the fact that across Wyoming there are these kinds of books, some of which are displaying acts of sexual relations of adults with children, with minors, and that is illegal, and yet these people are treating it as if it's a sacrament, that it's none of our business to get involved with what they're doing to our children. That's not right. And we need to ensure that Wyoming parents, once again, have the right to raise their children, not the government. And we need to get these books out of libraries. Thirdly, I just want to encourage you all, as Senator Biden told me a few months ago, in the next race, we need to choose one solid conservative candidate and get behind them. If we subdivide and, as Senator Biden said, let our pride get a hold of us, we're going to have a bunch of conservatives running, and they're going to divide the primary, and then we're going to have Mark Gordon again, whoever that will be. They don't do that. So, we live in a very odd and trying time, and I do believe that with your effort, we're going to win this culture, this Wyoming culture, again, and protect it through legislative means. But we also have to recognize that this is a spiritual battle too. So I want to encourage you, consider with your spouse or with your children, getting on your knees for a few minutes a day and just asking God's help to protect this state, to protect the truth and protect conservatism. Because all our successes are owed only to God, and we need His help now more than ever. Thank you.
Noah, do you want to stand up and say hi? There he is. There's Noah from Wyoming Catholic College. So I am president of Wyoming Right to Life, and Michael touched on something. The plaintiffs in this case who are trying to defend abortion are trying to make abortion a Christian issue. Whereas actually one of their plaintiffs is Jewish and says that banning abortion violates her religion. Well, there's a whole bunch of Jewish people out there that would totally disagree. She is a secular, non-observant Jew who says that Judaism requires abortions, yet the Jewish Pro-Life Foundation, of which we have a very active member in Casper, it's nationwide, can just steamroll that argument to help. And Buddhists, by the way, believe that abortion is a sin because it does kill a living human being, and they believe that life begins at conception. So every Thursday at 5 o'clock, there is a vigil at 918 East 2nd Street in Casper. That's the location of the abortion clinic. And Thursdays and Fridays are when they do the surgical abortions there. It's very somber, quiet, no troublemaking. But if you want to get a carpool to go over to Casper on any Thursday afternoon, make a day trip out of it from your community, have some dinner, and stand with the folks at 918 East 2nd Street, Thursday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. All right, there's been a couple of recent things. We are in the third month of waiting for the Wyoming Supreme Court to rule on the appeal that the interveners filed to be able to participate in this lawsuit. Interveners were Wyoming Right to Life, of course, Representative Rodriguez-Williams, Representative Nyman, the Alliance Defending Freedom, and Secretary of State Chuck Gray. No sooner did Judge Owens deny every single one of the interveners' petitions, we did file an appeal with the Wyoming State Supreme Court. Secretary Gray was not part of the appeal, but we sure appreciate his support. The judge, Melissa Owens, has ordered the parties to answer the question, how is banning abortion in Wyoming not detrimental to women's health? Okay, well, she should be careful what she asked for. She got a 140-page response with 7 appendices from the Assistant Attorney General, Jay Jurdy, and she got a 15-page response from 4 doctors in the form of an amicus brief. And the doctors And one of the doctors is our former colleague, Dr. Tim Hallinan. Yep. So he's signed on to that, as well as a very pro-life doctor who's testified in legislative committees many times, Dr. Mike Nelson. The doctor's amicus brief really sums it up. They point out that for thousands of years, midwives, doctors, and obstetricians have practiced the two-patient paradigm, the mother and her unborn baby. The plaintiffs are arguing for a one-patient paradigm where the unborn baby is irrelevant and every abortion is medically necessary and every obstetrician would have a legal and ethical duty to provide abortion on demand. The amicus brief further states, no physician has an ethical duty to destroy one of his patients regardless of how it might benefit the other. So, yes, it was pretty strong. So, the plaintiffs have filed for a summary judgment, even though the judge has scheduled a trial for next April. The plaintiffs think that they have proved their case and they don't need to go to trial, and the judge should just find in their favor. So that's where we stand now. I am going to put on another hat, since this is such a huge issue, the BLM Rock Springs Resource Management Plan. There are a few of us that can stand up in Wyoming and look at the preferred alternative B and say, I told you so. If we had passed House Bill 209 in 2015, we might not be here wringing our hands. Yes, Scotland. Wringing our hands about Wyoming being turned into one national wildlife refuge and buffalo pasture. I have been, here's a joke. What happened on July 10th, 1890? Some of you know this. No, come on, someone knows this in here. Wyoming became half a state. So that is your answer. Every time you hear what Wyoming has never become a state. We only became half a state 100 and some odd years ago. So for 12 years, I have been working with the American Lands Council. It started down in Salt Lake City. It is now all over the West. This little pin I'm wearing shows everything west of Denver that's owned by the federal government and so-called managed by the federal government, in complete violation of the federal government's promise to dispose of the land to the states as they had done for 32 other states before 1976. So, the Agriculture Committee, as you heard, has voted to bring a bill appropriating $50 million to sue BLM. The state of Utah has had a lawsuit ready to go. No court has ever been asked to answer the question, shall the federal government retain the unappropriated lands indefinitely? There have been lots of court cases on the subject, but no court has ever been asked that question, and no court has ever answered that question. It's a huge topic. I brought up some brochures that are over there on the counter for the American Lands Council. Please begin to familiarize yourself with this issue. But Wyoming is getting gobbled up more and more by the federal government. And the federal government does have a duty to dispose of the unappropriated lands, and it's time we held them to it. So, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Marty. That's a lot of hats. We are right upon the at ease mark, and then we'll get some lunch instructions prior to that time. But I do have some merchandise that the Wyoming Republican Party has retained for some time. It does have value. So let's do a cowboy-style auctions with one or two items out before you for your consumption. Let's celebrate last night's victory, the Border War, the bronze boots, and all proceeds will go to the Wyoming Republican Party. Do we have David Bossie's signature on this as well? All right. Who did not attend David Bossie's event when we held a meeting in Casper 1 year ago? I will explain who he is, but let's let this flag stand on its merit. If you're interested in this item, to take it home, the Secretary and Executive Director will retain in your name and the purchase price. And when you come settle up, you can take it with you. Who's interested at the Wyoming Cowboys flag? $10. Hold your hand up if you're interested at $10. Anybody else? 10. We've got a couple of hands. Can you see it? It's got the mounting rings on it, flagpole ready. Let's go to 15. Who's interested at 15? We've got now 20. Now 25. Can everybody see it? Now 30. Now 35. Now 40, now 45, now 50. We've got a couple Endurance bidders, $50. It looks like we've got one hand up. Mr. Junick, thank you for purchasing the flag. It'll be right up here. Mr. Junick, thank you. Who is David Bossy? Well, in 2016, David Bossy was voted one of the most 50 influential persons in the country. He was number 2. The only person above him was the current Pope. And so David Bossy has also served as National Committee Man for Maryland. We have worked with him. He's come to Wyoming. He's spoken. He's not only pro-Trump, he is still, I believe, the director of Citizens United, which is Trump's PAC. And so he did come to Wyoming. He did address us, and he did sign a lot of items, including, how many of you would like to get a new MyY cap? It's been in our vault. It's got David Bossy's signature on the bottom of the bill. Who would be interested in this cap at $10? Please raise your hand. MyY cap, David Bossy's signature. And I'm going to add one more thing. If I can get one more bidder, I'll add one item to go with it. We've got one interested at 10. Anybody else? We've got 2. Now 15. Now here's the sweet addition. We've got a David Bossy bookmark to go with it. And now 20 and 25 and 30. Keep your hands up so I know you're still interested, because if they go down, I'm only seeing hands that are up. At $25, anyone else? Anyone else with your hand up? Representative Alaman, thank you. It is now 11:07. This body stand at ease until 11:20. At 11:20, please promptly return to your seats, and we will reconvene the meeting. We are at ease.
Once again, the meeting has been called back to order. Please find your seats, settle in, and prepare to return to business.
Okay, members, we're back on the agenda. And some may have misunderstood that I was calling for lunch. Here's the details for lunch. At noon, we will have buffet style in the back. So let's just do back to front tables at noon, and we'll call for an invocation before we partake. Now, if hunger is on your mind, I have a little story behind these here lemon bars. Now, what is this plate? I can't read it unless I eat all the cookies. So I don't do that.
Yes, it is.
Okay, a couple of meetings ago, this plate was put up with goodies on it, and it was auctioned off. And the idea is for whoever purchases the goodies, in this instance, there's some really good-looking and really nice lemon bars, is that you would buy the lemon bars, take the plate, and at the next state central committee meeting, you come back with some other goodies. We auction it off, and the money comes to the Wyoming GOP. So.
All right, let's start at $20. This is the plate and the lemon bars. $20. Now 25. Now 30. Now 35. Now 40. Nina, how many lemon bars do we have on there? 10 minus 1. She got a little ahead of the curve. We are $45. 45. Now 50. 55. We've got one at 55. I see Jeff Burian in the back. He is hungry for lemon bars. Anybody else? David Holland at 60. Now $60. Now 65. And now 70. Proceeds to the Wyoming Republican Party. You know the strings attached.
All right, you guys can bid.
75. Now 80. We have one left at 80. Jeff is the security bidder, and the winner is Jeff Burian. $80. Don't be surprised when we come begging for bars.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yes, I know.
All right, Jeff, so I don't know if you were a baker in your house, but you understand what the responsibility is of wanting to get bride. Very good. $80, Jeff Burrian, lemon bars. Thank you. Okay, folks, we've got a lot of issues, financial issues to consider in our treasurer's report. Everything that Bob Ferguson, your treasurer, brings has been brought through the Budget and Audit Committee, and then yesterday our executive committee. We had a good turnout there. So there's for some of you this is a review, but he's going to take us through each of these decisions and considerations. And if we're not done by noon, we will take a break and then resume that business. Mr. Treasurer, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, as of today, our current bank balances stand at $22,796 and 84 cents in our federal account, $65,601.28 in our state account, for a grand total of $88,398.12. In your packet, you should have the general operating budget for the month of September. Pretty much everything was standard in terms of expenses, revenues. We did receive 7,400 in county shares during the month. We had additional donations of about 1,350 in other capacities. Expenses, we had no election expenses for 2024. We did have one fundraising expense. That was $1,028 for the direct mailer that Kathy and Mike Milligan put together the previous month. It's already yielded a lot of great results. General administrative expenses, everything there from FEC, accounting, payroll taxes, rent for the office, executive director salary, meeting graphics, all standard monthly expenses. And then no expenses for state convention or travel. Are there any questions on the general operating budget? All right, moving on to county shares. You should have a new county shares report as of this morning. We've had a total of 16 counties pay at least 50% or greater of their county shares, and 14 of those counties have paid 100% of their county shares. Yesterday, we actually received checks from Converse County, Park County, and Weston County to put them at the point of paying 100% of their county shares. So, thank you very much for all the support. We certainly appreciate that. I will remind everybody that we always get a lot of revenue from county shares at the beginning of the biennium, and then about this time, towards the end of the biennium, we're always scrambling for money from other sources. So just keep that in mind. Right now, we're in excellent shape financially, but we are going to have to continue to do a lot of fundraising going forward. All right. We did address the Budget and Audit Committee, addressed 3 other issues. I'll bring those up independently. We had a request from the Republic Review Committee for an appropriation for $500 for a legislator's lunch. Scott Brown made a presentation. They've done, I believe, 2 other legislative lunches in the past that have been successful with about 10 legislators. This was intended to possibly be at the next State Central Committee meeting, but the legislature may be in session during that time and may not be available to come, so the executive committee changed the request to appropriate $500 for a legislative lunch at a State Central Committee meeting at the date of the choosing of the Republic Review Committee. This will be a lunch hosting legislators. At this time, I'd like to request a motion from the floor to appropriate that $500. Motion's been made and seconded by Carla. Any discussion? Any discussion? Yes. The question was, how do you decide which legislators? Scott, could you address who you invite?
We traditionally invited those who substantially support the platform. If we end up during the legislative session, we're not quite sure how that invitation list will work at this point.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Any other questions? Yes, Brian. Right behind. Literally right behind.
Thank you. Brian Miller here. I'm not sure we need to put any restrictions on it. I think we should be inviting all of the body, all of them. So I would put that toward the committee. Invite everybody. Let them talk. It helps to let them talk.
Okay. Any other discussion on this, Scott?
If we're going to extend the invitation to all the legislators, we might need up that dollar amount to $1,000. I would so move to amend that.
I would probably suggest that we wait until we see how many people have shown up, and if we need to make an appropriation or go over that appropriation, we can do that at that time. If we get, we have 30 legislators that decide that they want to attend, obviously we'd like to accommodate that. Thank you very much. Any other discussion on the motion? Any other discussion on the motion? Sensing none, if you're ready to vote, all in favor of appropriating $500 for a legislative lunch at a state central committee to be determined date of choosing by the Public Review Committee, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Next item up for business that came through the Budget and Audit Committee was consideration of a contract for the parliamentarian for state convention. We've had a gentleman by the name of Al Gage that has come from out of state in the past to be our parliamentarian for state convention. In the past, his fees were $3,000 for effectively 2 days, but realized that he needed to sort of be on call for the day prior to our committee meetings. So the contract that we received would be for parliamentarian services, April 18th through 20th, in the total amount of $5,250 for a total of 3 days. That is $1,750 per day. It's a slight increase of about 17% over last year. And that is also plus actual expenses. So that's, I think last year we charged $3,000 for 2 days, and then we had total expenses, actual expenses of about $700 tacked onto that. Yes. We'll get to that. All right. This was brought up. The Budget and Audit Committee made a recommendation to the Executive Committee to accept the contract. The Executive Committee had other questions, wanted to present this to the body for discussion. So at this time, I would open the floor for a motion to discuss the contract for parliamentarian at state convention. Is there a motion from the floor?
Mr. Treasurer, could you repeat the dollar amount we're motioning for?
The dollar amount on the contract is $5,250 plus actual expenses. But we are opening it up for a broad discussion, not an approval of that specific contract. So, I'm sorry, Scott, did you make that motion? Okay, motion's been made by Scott Brown. Is there a second? Then the motion's been seconded. Open for discussion. I will start off by listing some of the concerns raised by the Executive Committee. Al cannot be present physically on the first day. That would be April 18th. Still charging for full days of service. The question was raised, can we use our own parliamentarian for either that day or some of the other days, or even as the entire parliamentarian services. People went back and forth from the Budget and Audit Committee and the Executive Committee. Is it good to have a completely nonpartisan parliamentarian to chair that event or to handle the issues at that event. Certainly Tom is clearly impartial in his handling of other parliamentarian services here, but the question was raised by the executive committee. So I will open that up for discussion, just open the general contract up for discussion on whether we should look for approval or amend that contract in some way, shape, or form. Any discussion? Scott Clem?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I had the pleasure of chairing the last two state conventions and worked side by side with Al. Al does a good job. There were sometimes I really didn't like some of the things that, working with Al, but Al is he's top notch in the 2020 convention and in the 2022 convention. He was a wealth of knowledge, and I'm glad that he was there. I think it is certainly pertinent that we have someone who's familiar with our process, familiar with the issues. I mean, I don't anticipate that this next convention will have some of the fireworks, perhaps, that we had in previous conventions. At least I hope not. But in the event that would happen, it's good to have him on board. I will also say, as far as, I was included in email strings and whatnot leading up to the convention. And so there was, in addition to chairing the actual convention, I also co-chaired the credentials committee. And so there was, all that to say, as far as the contract and extending it and having him on call, I don't think is a bad idea. I don't. It's intriguing. I'm not opposed necessarily to having our own parliamentarian be engaged in that work as soon as he's competent to do so. But all that to say, I just wanted to put my 2 cents in that I think he's worth the cost, considering some of the history that we've had with our state convention. And he's, in my experience, like I said, I've had kind of a love-hate relationship with some things, but I'm, for whoever chairs the next convention, I think he would be a valuable asset to work alongside. And I think he's worked well. I can't speak for the rest of those who, the decision makers on this, but anyway, I would be in favor of such a thing.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Flynn. Any other discussion on the motion or on the contract? Yes, Brian.
And Mr. Chairman, Brian Left, Sheridan County. I agree. I'm right in support of this. I think having a nonpartisan parliamentarian, someone who's from outside the state, not involved in Wyoming politics, is a great idea. He's got a professional certification, and there are many of them that have that certification. And that alone, as was mentioned, is worth the cost. To have them around to defer deter lawfare actions, that can save us a boatload of money by spending a little upfront.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? Yes.
Hi, Sherry Davis, Cook County. So I have a question in the fact that he won't even be attending a day, and maybe by Zoom, but that doesn't really promote the same service as a presence, and we know that. I respect Tom Peter as our parliamentarian. I don't know if that's something he's interested in, but his knowledge is excellent, and it does seem a little steep, so that's how I feel about it. Thank you.
Thank you. I have just been handed a note by our chairman with the belief that we do need a minimum of 2 days for a parliamentarian to be serving their with a physical presence. Sorry, that's a minimum of 2 parliamentarians for all 3 days. I'm mistaken. Thank you for that clarification. Any other discussion? As I mentioned, the Budget and Audit Committee made a recommendation to the Executive Committee to approve the contract as it was presented. The Executive Committee wanted to open that up to the body for discussion, but did not pass that contract or make any recommendation to this body one way or the other. So at this point, we are on a recommendation on whether we want to amend that contract or approve that contract with the recommendation of the Budget and Audit Committee. So any further discussion on the contract? Okay, that was, yes, Scott. Thank you. Motion's been moved to approve the contract as presented. That will be a total of $1,520 for parliamentarian services for 3 days plus actual expenses. Is there a second?
Second. That's the wrong number.
We need $1,750 a day for a total of $5,250. So is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion on the approval of that contract. Yes, Karen.
Yes, I wanted to know why our current parliamentarian would be doing this.
Well, as we discussed in the Budget and Audit Committee and the Executive Committee, the idea of having an out-of-state parliamentarian that's not involved in any of the state party politics, that is clearly unbiased, is beneficial. As a matter of fact, Tom and I were talking last night. He served as parliamentarian for 2 other states in exactly that capacity.
Thank you very much.
Any other discussion on the motion to approve the contract? Any other? Okay, seeing no further discussion, sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor of approving the contract as presented, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? I believe in the committee of the chair, the ayes have it. So the contract is approved. We'll sign that. And that also is with the caveat that the contract is reviewed by Brian Shuck. I apologize for not mentioning that in advance, but Brian will review the contract for legal language. The third issue that the Budget and Audit Committee addressed was a question that was presented to us regarding Uinta County's outstanding legal expenses. Currently, Uinta County has a bill of $42,615 to attorney Caleb Wilkins. The case is over and done with, but that is an outstanding bill. The question was presented to the Budget and Audit Committee to discuss whether or not the state should contribute or assist in those legal fees in some capacity. We decided as a committee that we didn't have enough information. There were still too many outstanding questions currently for us to discuss, even get to the point of discussing whether or not the state should be party to helping pay some of those legal fees. One of those questions was that we had several witnesses that said during the Uinta County elections that one of the candidates publicly made a statement that he would be willing to, or that he was going to cover those legal expenses. We didn't even want to get into whether or not the state party should deal with covering any of those legal expenses until that issue was resolved. So at this point, I believe, I don't know, is Matt Michael in the room? Is there anyone from Uinta County that can speak to the possibility? Yes, Dan. I'm sorry. I believe the statement was made by Matt regarding Ron's payment of the fees. That was the way it was explained to me. I don't know. That's not correct. Okay, great. Thank you very much. So that was Ron. Sorry about that. Ron Michael. So is there anybody in the room that can speak to that? All right. Well, not having that question answered, the executive committee suggested that we move to executive session to discuss this issue for the party. Yes, Todd.
Mr. Chairman, I suggest that we move into executive session to discuss this, and that anyone who is not part of the voting body or has been part of this legal action should vacate the room.
Okay, motion's been made, move to executive session. Multiple seconds. The secretary can get that. Motion's been made and seconded to move into executive session. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? All right, we are now moving into executive session. I'd like to